Welcome to Glasgow, Scotland. We're going to take a tour of one of Glasgow's most well-known streets, Sauchiehall Street. But first, let's take a look at this busy road junction. This area is Charing Cross, which sits on the border of the West End and the city centre. Cutting through and underneath Charing Cross is the M8 motorway. Before the M8 motorway was built, Charing Cross was a prestigious and popular area, serving as a grand gateway between the West End and the city centre. This is the Charles Cameron Memorial Fountain. It's a remnant of a time when Charing Cross was a vibrant social hub with beautiful architecture and much less noise than today. The fountain was built in 1896 in the Baroque style and was erected in memory of Sir Charles Cameron. Sir Charles Cameron was a notable figure in Glasgow, working as a newspaper editor and publisher, as well as serving as a Member of Parliament. He was a driving force of the temperance movement, campaigning against the consumption of alcohol. This was a big social issue in 1800s Britain, and Sir Charles Cameron was instrumental in the introduction of the Inebriates Act in 1898. This act allowed for people with alcohol addiction to be detained and treated. The fountain is a reminder of his work and commitment to this cause. The construction of the M8 motorway through Charing Cross led to the creation of a concrete podium over the motorway, intended to house restaurants, a leisure complex, or a hotel. The development plans ultimately fell through due to lack of money and political will. The podium remained empty for decades, becoming known as the Bridge to Nowhere. In the late 1980s, the decision was made to construct an office complex, Tea House, on top of the podium. The building, clad in pink plastic panels, is widely disliked and considered an eyesore. Due to its location, demolition of the building is considered impossible without causing significant disruption. The M8 motorway effectively severed Charing Cross in two, creating a physical barrier and a source of noise between the city centre and the West End. The M8 project, while intended to modernise Glasgow and improve traffic flow, left an undeniable scar on Charing Cross, sacrificing a significant part of its architectural heritage. Among the lost structures was the Grand Hotel, a prominent landmark built in the 1880s. The hotel, admired for its opulent design, inspired by French architecture, was a popular venue for wedding receptions and social gatherings. The Grand Hotel's demolition in 1969 to make way for the M8 is viewed by many as a significant loss to Glasgow's architectural heritage. At the time when the Grand Hotel and the other impressive buildings in this area were built, Glasgow was a major industrial location. The steam engine, developed in Glasgow University by James Watt, was powering the Industrial Revolution. Glasgow was a leader in shipbuilding, engineering, and textile production. The River Clyde provided an access point for goods to enter the city from America and other countries. With the Glasgow economy booming, there would have been a growing population of wealthier residents. The increasing number of affluent residents in Glasgow fueled the demand for luxurious accommodation, leading to the construction of buildings like Charing Cross Mansions here. It was designed for one of Glasgow's leading businessmen, Robert Simpson, who owned a warehouse store at the corner of Jamaica Street and Argyle Street. His initials RS are featured on many of the ornate elements of the building. Built between 1889 and 1891, these mansions are a fantastic example of the French Renaissance style, which was all the rage in Victorian times. It was designed by a famed Scottish architect called John James Burnet. He had a real knack for creating grand, eye-catching buildings. The mansions are the first and grandest red sandstone tenement in the city, giving them a warm, striking appearance. They are now Category A listed, which means they're recognised as being of special architectural and historical importance. We're now heading into Sauchiehall Street. This is Driftwood. It's a bar and eatery that is popular with students. It's been serving customers since 2005. This section of Sauchiehall Street was once a chaotic 4-lane road dominated by cars. It is now a 2-lane road instead of 4, making it much more calm and pleasant for pedestrians. It also features cycle lanes. The improvements are part of the Avenues programme, a £115 million development that should improve many streets throughout the centre and west end of Glasgow. This establishment was the Hall Sports Bar. It closed only a few months ago at the time of this video, November 2024. It had a long run of success, having opened in 1999. It was popular with a range of patrons, but its main appeal was the showing of many sports matches on large projector screens and their drinks deals. The closure of many businesses on this street is the result of the economic downturn that Scotland and the rest of the UK has faced over the years. Hopefully, we will see more businesses opening up as the street continues to be redeveloped, although the spending habits of many people have also been hindered by the recent cost of living crisis. Let's look far back in time for a moment. Back in the 1810s, a row of large Georgian homes were built along this street, most likely for the wealthy merchants of Glasgow. They were positioned further back from the road, and their gardens occupied the space where these buildings are here. Parts of those Georgian homes actually still exist today, though it's difficult to see them hidden behind the modern buildings. One part of those Georgian homes can still be seen from inside the Centre of Contemporary Arts building, which is further down the street. In the 1890s, a man named Thomas Ewing decided to build a piano shop as an extension to one of the Georgian homes where he lived. That building is right here at 520 Sauchiehall Street. It was designed by David Peyton Lowe and built in the 1890s. A couple of years into its time as a piano shop, they added a grand hall for performances and another floor. Over the years, the building took on many roles. In 1912, it transformed into a cinema, the Vitagraph, they called it, and then the King's Cinema. Over the decades, it kept showing films under different names until the 80s, when its silver screen days came to an end. But that wasn't the end of the story. Oh no, this place became a bar and nightclub, going through a long list of names over the years. The Velvet Rooms, Blanket, Bed, Guru, the Classrooms, and finally, Club 520. Club 520 had quite an unusual layout, with 3 dance floors connected by narrow stairways and corridors. It became awkward to navigate on busy nights. The club closed in 2011 and has been left vacant ever since. But just look at that beautiful red sandstone and those Greek details, a real reminder of its grand beginnings. Hope you're enjoying the tour so far. Please click the subscribe button if you want to see more tour videos like this. This is the Royal Highland Fusiliers Regimental Museum. It's also built from Victorian red sandstone and was designed by famous Scottish architect Charles Rennie Mackintosh. As well as Mackintosh's indulgent swirls embedded in the design, he has included the RHF letters, partitioned by 2 statues, male and female, staring down upon the street. Above them is the RHF Golden Cap badge, holding 3 flags, colours of 3 battle honours, awarded to the Royal Highland Fusiliers. The Royal Highland Fusiliers was a British Army infantry regiment formed in 1959 by merging the Royal Scots Fusiliers and the Highland Light Infantry. Recruited primarily from Ayrshire and Glasgow, the regiment served in various conflicts and peacekeeping operations. In 2006, the RHF became part of the Royal Regiment of Scotland as its 2nd Battalion. This building was built in the early 1900s and opened as the Charing Cross Electric Theatre in 1910. Although not the first building used for cinema in Glasgow, it was the first purpose-built cinema in the city. The cinema closed in 1926, and in the same year it reopened as the UK's first Locarno ballroom. Locarno ballrooms were a series of large public dancing venues located in Scotland and England. There was one in most major British cities. It was a popular venue where people would meet for ballroom dancing to the sound of live music. The Glasgow Locarno Ballroom survived through the Second World War and continued as a ballroom dancing venue until the 1960s. In 1958, local journalist Jack House wrote, Dancing is tremendously popular in Glasgow, and there is a higher proportion of dance halls to the population than anywhere else in the British Isles. An advertisement for the Locarno Ballroom can be seen on the side of one of the trams in the Riverside Museum in Glasgow. In the 1960s, the Locarno turned into a discotheque and became known as Tiffany's. Discotheques originally became popular in France when it was occupied by the Nazis in World War II. Live music was banned, and so they danced to recorded music in secret venues. The popularity of discotheques grew over the years, and this led to the Locarno becoming Tiffany's in the 1960s here in Glasgow. Tiffany's closed in the 1970s, and the building has been a casino ever since. The three bars here compete for the same clientele. They each host live music gigs for unsigned artists, contributing to Glasgow's thriving music scene, providing a drinking and social space for students and other music lovers. This is Box, a cornerstone of the Glasgow new music scene since 2006. Broadcast is the newest of the three. Unfortunately, it's currently closed due to flooding. Nice N Sleazy. This iconic bar, club, and live music venue first opened its doors back in 1991, making it the oldest of the bunch. This is the Garage nightclub and live performance venue. The building that houses the Garage nightclub has a history dating back to World War II. At that time, it was known as Gainsborough Hall, where off-duty service personnel and locals would gather to dance to big band music. Following the war, the venue underwent several name changes, operating as the New Astoria Ballroom, Shuffles, the Mayfair, and finally, in 1994, Donald MacLeod, along with his then business partner, Michelle Pagliocca, took over the venue and rebranded it as The Garage. For 30 years, it has been a popular venue, not only as a nightclub, but also a venue for music, comedy, and even professional wrestling. Big-name acts have performed here, including Marilyn Manson, Biffy Clyro, The Strokes, and Muse. Even Prince performed at the Garage in 1995, one of the most iconic gigs in Glasgow's history. At the back of the Garage nightclub is the G2 attic. Remember the fancy Georgian Homes, owned by the wealthy merchants in the early 1800s that we talked about earlier? Well, this is one of the few remaining homes that still stands today. It's used now as part of the Garage nightclub. It's called the G2, and it's a small venue that hosts intimate live music performances. The Beresford building here is a distinctive Art Deco building with a rich history. Designed by William Beresford Inglis and opened in 1938, it was initially the Beresford Hotel, intended to accommodate visitors to the Empire Exhibition. The Empire Exhibition was a large exhibit built in Bellahouston Park, Glasgow. It was designed to showcase the achievements of the British Empire, promote trade, and strengthen imperial bonds. It included over 100 buildings and attracted over 13 million visitors during its 6-month duration. The Beresford building is a 7-story structure, considered Glasgow's first skyscraper. During World War II, the hotel housed US Army soldiers. Notably, a young John F. Kennedy gave his first public address at the Beresford in 1939 on behalf of his father. After the war, it was converted to office blocks before becoming Baird Hall, a student residence for the University of Strathclyde from 1964 to 2004. Since 2008, the building has housed private apartments. Sauchiehall Street began as a quiet and narrow suburban thoroughfare known as Sauchiehall Road. The name itself comes from a Sauchiehall, or willow meadow, that was likely in this area. It is believed that the word hoff, meaning meadow, may have later been mistaken for the Scots word haw, which means hall. This would have led to the modern name Sauchiehall Street. The area was probably once moorland, some of which may have been wooded and later cultivated. In the late 1600s, Glasgow was a major producer of linen, but it really began to grow as a city and industrial powerhouse when it began trading tobacco, sugar, and cotton with America. This began in the 1700s after Scotland formed a union with England. Sauchiehall Street was developed during this period of growth. Trams first appeared on Sauchiehall Street in 1872 as part of Glasgow's first horse-drawn tram route. They were replaced by electric trams in 1901. The last Glasgow tram ran on the 4th of September 1962, marking the end of an era. Glasgow's tram network was once a bustling part of city life. However, between 1949 and 1962, the network was gradually phased out in favour of what were then considered more modern modes of transport, trolley and diesel-powered buses. Glasgow's tram network was the last city tramway in Great Britain until the construction of new systems in the 1990s. Sauchiehall Street experienced its golden age between the 1880s and 1970s, bustling with shops, department stores, theatres and dance halls. Today, however, the street's retail scene has faded, with shoppers gravitating towards Buchanan Street, the St Enoch Centre and Argyle Street. Although there are a few clothing shops, the majority of businesses that exist today are takeaway food shops, pubs, music venues, cafes and restaurants. This demolished building was the O2 ABC. It was a performance venue for music acts and a nightclub. Way back in 1875, this building opened its doors as the Diorama, showcasing grand paintings of historical events. But the entertainment didn't stop there. It became the Glasgow Panorama, with moving canvases and sound effects, a high-tech exhibit for the 1870s. It then transformed into an ice skating palace and even hosted the first movie screening in all of Scotland. Through the years, it's been a circus, a cinema seating over 2,000 people, and finally, the music venue and nightclub we knew and loved. In 2014, the Glasgow School of Arts Mackintosh building suffered a tragic fate. It was destroyed by a fire which occurred as students prepared for their degree show. The loss of the building, a world-renowned example of Art Nouveau architecture, was a tragedy felt by many far and wide. A huge fundraising effort was launched, with celebrities like Brad Pitt and Peter Capaldi lending their support to raise millions for restoration. An investigation later revealed the fire was accidentally caused by flammable gases from expanding foam coming into contact with a projector. Just when it seemed like the building might recover, tragedy struck again in 2018. Another fire engulfed the Mackintosh building, causing even more extensive damage and leaving the historic ABC building in disrepair. Left in ruin until now, the ABC building is finally being demolished due to Glasgow City Council issuing a dangerous building notice. The venue will be replaced by a food hall named House of Social. It will offer food, drinks, and live music. A new external courtyard will also be created for students and the wider community. We're going to take a quick detour over to Douglas Street to see another historic building. This building was originally built as the City of Glasgow Friendly Society in the early 1900s. The society itself was founded in 1862. The building is a beautiful example of Edwardian Baroque architecture, with ornate details and a grand presence on the street. It features this statue of John Stewart, who served as the secretary of the City of Glasgow Friendly Society for an impressive 38 years. Much like other friendly societies of the time, it aimed to provide a safety net for its members, who were mainly working-class people. Members paid regular contributions, like a subscription, and in return, the society provided financial assistance if they became ill or unable to work. This helped cover lost income and medical expenses. They also offered death benefits to help with funeral costs and provide for the deceased's family. They offered various savings plans and investment opportunities, often with better interest rates than traditional banks. The society encouraged members to save for the future. This building, with its long and elegant classical facade, was originally built in 1855 as an art gallery. Its first owner, Archibald McClellan, was a local merchant who wanted to share his impressive art collection with the public. The gallery and its paintings were purchased by the city in 1856, but eventually, the collection found a new home in Kelvin Grove Museum. It was then transformed into a department store, undergoing significant renovations that added the distinctive corner dome and shop fronts you see today. Although a fire in 1986 gutted the building's interior, its grand facade remains a testament to its rich history and architectural significance on Sauchiehall Street. This building was the Bank of Scotland. Designed in the late 1920s, it's a classic example of the grand banking architecture of that era. Notice the impressive sculptures by renowned artist Benno Schatz adorning the facade. These figures, combined with the building's solid base and elegant Greek-inspired details, create a sense of strength and permanence. Step inside, and you'll be greeted by a lavish banking hall lined with rich Hoptonwood stone, a testament to the grandeur and prosperity the bank once represented. The rest of Sauchiehall Street is currently under construction as part of the Avenues programme. There are more historic buildings up ahead, but we will explore them in the future when the construction works are complete. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more.